We are going to get started. Yeah, thank you. We're going to get started, and my name is L.Gijssen. I'm a teacher educator at Utrecht University FLOT in Tilburg, which is in the southern part of the Netherlands. And in addition, I'm carrying out my PhD research project at the University of Utrecht, and I'm doing this in cooperation with the Ticola project. In this presentation, based on insights of exchanges between Dutch and German secondary school students, I'm going to talk about how teachers can engage their learners in online intercultural communication. Yeah? Any teacher observing his or her students in collaborating or participating in collaborative activities in the classroom is aware of differences between learners in terms of their interest and involvement. So one pair might be completely off task, whispering about the weekend, while another small group might be compliant, yet paying little attention. A third pair might be hunched over pieces of paper, scribbling down ideas, asking one another questions, intent on solving a problem, or in my case, carrying out a task successfully. It should be clear from these brief examples that when we talk about learning, it's important that students are engaged and that we know that some student activity is more effective for learning than others. And this also goes for online learning. I'm carrying out a PhD project on task engagement, and basically I'm interested in how students engage with foreign language learning tasks within the context of an intercultural classroom. And what I'm doing is I study, and I'm going to show you here, I study task engagement on 3 levels: behavioral, cognitive, and attitudinal. So basically, I look at what students do, what they think, and how they feel when they execute a task. And the students who participated in the research project all came from mainstream or bilingual secondary education, and some of them will share their experiences with us today. Yeah, and they are going to do a great job today. Yes. Today I'm going to talk about the third exchange in particular, but I've coached 3 exchanges, and as you can see on the slide, 2 of them took place with upper secondary school students, and 1 of them took place with younger students. And students came from bilingual education in the first and in the second exchange, and from mainstream in the third exchange. When students collaborated, they worked online from their home computers, and we used different tools. So some of them used the forum in Moodle, but we also used a synchronous conference room called Big Blue Button, and in the final exchange, they collaborated together in the Ticola virtual world, and you have already seen parts of the virtual world this morning. Throughout the exchanges, English was used as a pedagogical lingua franca, and there was an ongoing coaching collaboration between us, the Ticola members, and the teachers, a Dutch teacher and a German teacher, in each respective exchange. Early onward in the first exchange, we noticed that it was worthwhile to familiarize the students with the task, or at least the task topic, before the actual online meeting. Simultaneously, we also noticed that it was important to evaluate student performance right after the task. And that's what we did using teacher talks, using group discussions, but also using worksheets. This all led to a blended approach in which the teachers combined face-to-face tasks with online tasks in, for example, the virtual world. And the teachers also applied a task-based approach to their task design. So they used a pre-task, a main task or in-task, and post-tasks. In this presentation, I'm going to focus in particular on online intercultural communication as an essential part of student activity when they engage with tasks. And it's very important to keep in mind that all these intercultural encounters took place within the pedagogical context of the obligatory language classroom. If we go to the tasks, we see that in each exchange, teachers designed 3 tasks for their students, depending on their context. So in the first exchange that took place in December 2017, they chose to talk about Christmas as a topic. So it was a contrast and compare activity, and it's interesting to note here that the Dutch and the German teacher decided to design the tasks before the first meeting took place, give them to the students, and give them a lot of autonomy in how to deal with them. In the second exchange, we saw that the teachers only designed task 1 and task 2, and then they gave their learners the freedom to decide on a topic for the third task. And then the Dutch students came up with creating a vlog activity because they wanted to get to know their partners better, and worked really well. In the third exchange, which is the final and which is still ongoing for some students at this moment, students worked at the beginning of this year on a learning path, which you have also seen this morning in the Tikala virtual world. And now they are working on a third and final task, which is all about a self-chosen topic. And for your information, the students collaborating in this exchange all have to do an oral exam in May. So the Dutch students have to give a presentation on a global issue, and the German students, they have to practice their conversational skills in an oral test as well. So we try to make this task part of their curriculum. For today, the main insights come from what we saw happening in the third exchange in the Tikala virtual world, and students who will talk about their experiences will also reflect on how they felt, what they did, and what they thought when participating in the virtual world. It's there where we collected data, a lot of data, so we recorded sessions and we interviewed students, but we also worked with reflective worksheets with a special focus for today on online intercultural communication. If you look at this slide, you can see that at the heart of this exchange, but I believe at every exchange, was task organization. So this is what teachers talked about in the first meeting. So what are we going to do? When are we going to do it? With whom are we going to do it? And they used pre and post tasks to scaffold their students in 3 main areas. The first one had to do with linguistic communicative means of expressions. So before the first meeting in November, the teachers talked about useful language in class. So in small groups, they talked about vocabulary, phrases, collocations students could use when meeting their partner for the first time. The same happened with the reflective task. There was a chance to talk about task performance. Another area teachers provided coaching on had to do with rapport building. So they explicitly talked in class, and again, also in small groups, about what it means to collaborate successfully. So what does successful teamwork look like? And they address topics like being open about stuff, having a cooperative attitude. But they also talked about, okay, sometimes you can encounter a situation in which you're not quite sure what to do or what to say, and it can feel awkward. But what can you do then to solve this potential problem? What can you say? What can you do? And last but certainly not least, teachers talked with students, but also it was incorporated in worksheets about raising learning awareness. So all these students who participated had a goal. They wanted to get a good grade for the oral exam, and they wanted to practice their conversational skills, their fluency, enlarge their vocab. Some wanted to focus on pronunciation, but also in terms of intercultural encounters, they wanted to speak with a foreigner, a real person, someone who was also learning the language. They wanted to get to know this person and discuss topics from a global perspective. As you see now, this is a lot of theory, and I thought it was important not for me to talk about what we did with these learners, but to let these learners themselves share their experience with you And we're going to start with the first person who's going to do that. His name is Steun.